The current economic climate is quite worrisome. Recession fears mounting and inflation, the war in Ukraine and the lingering pandemic taking a toll, and many tech companies are rethinking their staffing needs, with some of them instituting hiring freezes, rescinding offers, and even starting layoffs. Hello and welcome to VAR India News Hour. The damage from the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, has magnified the slowdown in the global economy, which is entering a long term of feeble growth and elevated inflation. Stocks have tumbled across Europe as soaring inflation puts pressure on central bankers to raise interest rates even more aggressively. With the US dollar in demand, the pound has sunk below $1.18 for the first time since March 2020, early in the pandemic. As per Forbes, the inflation stocks, which predominantly includes companies from the banking, insurance, consumer staples, oil and gas sectors, has declined by about 8% over the last month, marginally underperforming the broader S&P 500. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, including the US, said that global tech companies are in panic due to the fear of an economic slowdown in developed countries. After putting brakes on job cuts and hiring by tech social media companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, that is Meta, Oracle, and Twitter, Apple has also joined the list of these companies. While the US Federal Reserve took some time to respond to inflation, starting with a 0.25% rate hike in March 2022, it is getting more aggressive with its monetary policy tightening after inflation numbers for May came in higher than expected. The central bank raised rates by 0.75% in June, its largest hike since 1994. So let's look how the global tech companies are pulling back. The Alphabet Inc. has decelerated their recruiting efforts. According to an internal memo, Chief Executive Officer Sundar Pichai told employees that although the business added 10,000 Googlers in the second quarter, it will be slowing the pace of hiring for the rest of the year and prioritizing engineering and technical talent. Amazon.com Inc. said in April that it was overstaffed after ramping up during the pandemic and needed to cut back. As the variant subsided in the second half of the quarter and employees returned from leave, we quickly transitioned from being understaffed to being overstaffed, resulting in lower productivity, Chief Financial Officer Brian Olskovy said. Apple has decided to slow down hiring for the year 2022 to 23 after putting brakes on job cuts and hiring by tech social media companies. Coinbase Global Inc., a cryptocurrency exchange, told employees it was cutting 18% of staff in June to prepare for an economic downturn. It also rescinded job offers. We appear to be entering a recession after a 10-plus year economic boom, CEO Brian Armstrong said in a blog post. Meta Platforms Inc., the parent of Facebook, slashed plans to hire engineers by at least 30%. CEO Mark Zuckerberg told employees that he is anticipating one of the worst turndowns in recent history. Microsoft Corp told workers in May that it was slowing down hiring in the Windows, Office, and Teams groups as it races for economic volatility. Salesforce Inc. has been slowing hiring and reducing travel expenses as per the sources. Tesla Inc. cut 200 autopilot workers as it closed a facility in San Mateo, California in June. CEO Elon Musk said earlier that layoffs would be necessary in an increasingly shaky economic environment. The reason could be IT businesses spent two-thirds of their revenue on salaries and benefits. In the fiscal year 2021 to 22, IT businesses spent 62% of their entire income on staff salaries. During this time, IT firms earned a total of Rs 5.5 lakh crores, of which around Rs 3 lakh crores was spent on salaries. This is why the net profit margins of IT firms remained steady over this era. Let's look into today's headlines in VAR India. UIDAI cancels around 6 lakh duplicate Aadhars. The Minister of State in Electronics and Information Technology, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, said that the Unique Identification Authority of India has cancelled 598,999 duplicate Aadhars. He explained the steps taken by UIDAI to address the duplicate Aadhar generation issue. Apart from deduplication, facial recognition in Aadhar is also being used for authenticating pension verification details. Over 100,000 pensioners have been authenticated by this technology as of now. Rohit Kapoor quits Oyo to join Swiggy. SoftBank-backed Oyo's global chief marketing officer Rohit Kapoor has resigned from the company and is currently serving his notice period. Kapoor was promoted to global CMO in March this year from the position of CEO, Southeast Asia and India. It is reportedly said that Kapoor is likely to join food tech unicorn Swiggy in a senior position. UP government appoints Deloitte India for the state's economy to reach $1 trillion. The Uttar Pradesh government has decided to appoint Deloitte India as a consultant to suggest plans for bringing the state's economy to the $1 trillion mark. A sector-wise action plan is being prepared by the state government to fulfill the goal of bringing the economy of Uttar Pradesh to $1 trillion. Citizens to pay 18% GST on residential rental. The Finance Ministry's Revenue Department has introduced 18% GST on residential rentals across the country. A residential home rented to a person registered under GST would attract a tax of 18%. With this amendment, the tenant who takes a residential property on rent for the purpose of a guest house or for providing employees or directors would be subjected to tax. The tenant needs to pay the tax, keeping the landlord out of legal obligations. Centre receives 23 semiconductor applications for PLI scheme. The government has received 23 applications for the Rs 76,000 crore production-linked incentive scheme announced for semiconductors. The scheme was announced in December 2021 amid chip shortage. Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar said the company is looking to manufacture 28 nanometer or low nodes of chips would be eligible for getting up to 50% of the project cost under the scheme. Similarly, companies setting up fab to manufacture about 28 nm to 45 nm node chipsets and above 45 nm to 65 nm chips will be able to reimburse 40% and 30% of the project cost respectively. That's all for now. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to VAR India News magazine. You can download the VAR India app from Google Play Store and Apple App Store for the latest news and updates. Stay tuned. Thank you.